Hi, I'm Moby. I'm here in my studio. This is my wall of drum machines behind me, and it's nice to meet you. The first time I went to a nightclub in New York was 1980, 81, 30 years ago. And granted, I was 15, 16 years old, and New York at that time was terrifying and so exciting and amazing, and you took your life in your hand walking on the streets at night. I mean, you took your life in your hand walking on the streets in the daytime, especially being like a naive 16-year-old kid from the suburbs. And the clubs, they represented, for me, they were like so exciting, and they represented everything I wanted. You know, like everybody was dressed up and glamorous and seedy and sexy. So, I mean, DJing in New York in the mid to late 80s, you had to play everything. You know, a club like Mars, if you played on the ground floor, you played house music. If you played on the second floor, on Thursday nights you played hip hop. On Friday nights you played house music. If you played on the third floor, you played reggae. The fourth floor, you would play like weird rare groove, like old breakbeat records. And so you kind of would have to just be this, like these versatile DJs who played everything. Well, going to Europe and being a part of the dance scene there in 91, 92, it was really fascinating because I had never expected. I mean, I had never expected to have a career as a musician. I had never expected to leave the United States. I'd never expected to leave New York City. And suddenly I was flying back and forth, and it got to, like, every time I'd go to the airport, it would be exciting. Every time I'd land at Heathrow, it would be exciting. Or if you land at Tegel in Berlin, it would be like, I can't believe I'm a kid who grew up on food stamps and welfare, and I'm flying to Europe every month. And getting paid so much more money than I'd ever imagined. I started putting out records around 1989, 1990, and the first couple of records I put out did nothing. Like, they're interesting records, but they were poorly produced and you couldn't play them in nightclubs. And then Go came out and somehow became a hit. Like an underground dance hit, but then in Europe became an actual like pop dance hit. And so I started spending a lot of time in Germany, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in France, in the UK, going back and forth and DJing and performing. And in New York, dance music was this really underground form of music, you know, and no one in the world of dance music in New York ever expected to have success with it. Or success was, like, Todd Terry was our god, because he actually somehow, like, people knew who he was and he sold records and we're like, wow, he was the biggest producer in the world as far as we were concerned. But most of us who were on like Strictly Rhythm, Big Beat, Instinct, like the small dance labels, you'd put out a single and you'd hope to sell 2,000 records. 5,000 records was a huge hit. And then you'd go to Europe and all of a sudden there'd be 10,000 people in a warehouse. There'd be huge clubs filled with people, and it was really eye-opening. And also at that time, dance music was so bizarre and amazing and messed up, and production-wise, every week you'd hear a new record and be like, I've never heard anything like that before. You know, and it just kept getting faster and stranger and more fractured and splintered, and it was amazing. People. Well, play was a complete accident. My career was done long before Play came out. You know, like in 1995, I played a New Year's Eve rave in Los Angeles, and they put me in the old school tent. So 4 years before Play was released, I was already kind of like a where is he now old school guy. And then I was working on the music for Play, and I couldn't for the life of me get a record deal. I was signed to Mute Records in Europe, and that's just because Daniel Miller felt charitable and liked me. And then V2 here, they sort of took pity on me, so they put out Play. And when we put it out, no one expected it to do anything, because it was a weird, lo-fi record made by a has-been middle-aged bald guy in his bedroom on the Lower East Side. There's no precedent for records like that going on to be successful. And so when it started to be successful, it was so completely surprising. Every last aspect of its success was baffling. Because it really should never have been a success.